Hey yo, DJ D-Rec, cut the beat. Because today, we're talking about one of my favorite shows of all time, Wild 'N Out. A show that blended my two favorite things, gangster rap and stand-up comedy. From its start as a small production to help some friends, to its cultural relevance in hip-hop, to the powerhouse legacy it holds today, even after hiatuses, network switches, and some wild controversy. So today, please sit back as we look back on one of music's most popular TV shows, Wild 'N Out. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Alright, you know the drill. Time for some context. Wild 'N Out is basically a hip-hop improv game show where two teams, aka squads, compete in a bunch of hip-hop oriented comedy games. Think Whose Line Is It Anyway, but gangster rap and no filters. Teams win games, rack up points, then end with the iconic Wild style battle. Points kinda matter for the belt, but the main point is really just chaos and jokes. It also ends with a musical performance in most episodes, usually from the guest, kinda similar to SNL. The show was created and hosted by Nick Cannon, who most people know as the guy who hosts everything, Mariah Carey's ex, and most recently, dad of 12.
And I'm interviewing Nick Cannon, former R. Kelly collaborator, and stagehands let you walk in here with your dick out.
Can I have a hug?
You, Dad.
But before all that, in the early 2000s, Nick was grinding comedy clubs and in the studio constantly, freestyling funny roasts with friends like Kevin Hart, Cat Williams, D. Ray Davis, and more. He saw potential in gangster lyrical rappers doing comedy that hit different. Not corny, but relatable for the streets. Plus, a ton of his talented friends weren't blowing up like him. So, Nick self-funded a pilot for a show based on his friends' funny freestyle roasts. He rented cameras, a studio, and pitched it to MTV all out of his own pocket. They were skeptical at first because they didn't fully grasp the concept. Boomers, am I right? But greenlit one season in 2005 as Nick Cannon presents Wild 'N Out, giving themselves a tad more distance from the show in case it flopped. But because of this, Nick kept major ownership rights, kinda like Rob Dyrdek did with his shows. Wild 'N Out would debut July 28th, 2005 and blow up immediately, launching careers left and right.
Yo, I got it. Yo, hey, check it. Yo, check it. Yo, hey, yo, hey, listen. Nick, hey, check it. Yo.
The original run on MTV was truly unmatched, and older fans today will tell you there was still nothing like it. I mean, it had raw energy, that 2000 street edge, and an insane cast right out of the gate. People like Cat Williams, Affion Crockett, and even SNL alum Mikey Day all had regular appearances on the show during its first season. As for guests, they had Kanye West, Orlando Jones, Christina Milian, who was dating Nick Cannon at the time, T.I., Method Man, Kenan Thompson, Omarion, Kevin Hart. And keep in mind that this was 2005. While a lot of these names were already big, there were still a lot that were relatively small and unknown. I mean, for Cat Williams at this point, he was really only known for his Friday After Next appearance. And for others like Mikey Day, this show was how he got his foot in the door and led him to meeting the people that would eventually get him on SNL. And we can't forget DJ D-Rec, the show's resident DJ and judge since day one. He used to have a larger part in the early days, with him explaining challenges and interacting with the cast regularly, but has since slowly faded to just more of a background character. Although he still does have some good moments here and there. The cast is split into two squads, the Red Squad and the Black Squad. And as for the games, a lot of the ones we see in these early years are still being used today. I mean, the given is the Wild style at the end of each episode, that never changes. But some other OG games we still see today are R&B Beef, Talk and Spit, Got Props, Fashion Showdown, Plead the Fifth, Sunday Service, and Thanks for Nothing. Something unique about these early seasons though, is they used to have these little skits they do before or in between segments of the show, which were kind of like MTV versions of a Mad TV sketch. And it's a good thing they got rid of these because some of them were weird, man. Season 2 debuted February 1st, 2006, and with it, they would bring on even more insane guests, like Wayne Brady, Lil Jon, Tyra Banks, Mike Epps, Kelly Rowland. I mean, really every big name in hip-hop and R&B subcultures. And by the way, seeing Wayne Brady do the wild style is still just so funny to me. Like, he's so clearly out of place, but he's happy and confident the whole time, and I just love it.
Hickory dickory dock, your girl was on my till they blew my house, I turned her out, and now she sells my
Also, for season 2, and subsequent seasons as you'll notice, the way the points bar looks, as well as the overall aesthetic, would slightly change. It's always kept the vibe of the show, but it's kinda like a GUI in phones, you know? Like, every new iPhone looks different when you open and use it, but somehow always stays true to Apple's core aesthetics. Same kind of thing here. For this one, it's pretty basic as the points are just held in a gold bar, switching between sports-like numbers and also the little mics. Season 3 premiered August 10th, 2006 and saw people like E40, Chamillionaire, Talib Kweli, Pharrell Williams, and Clips. And finally, to close out the OG era, they brought on guests like Snoop Dogg, Neo, Steve-O, Tara Reid, and Pauly Shore for the 4th season, which debuted on June 7th, 2007. Both seasons had the same little points bar, which was a reworked version of the gold bar with a little star in the middle and the Wild 'N Out logo. And it's honestly just so insane how many relevant people came on the show during this time. And it's undoubtedly a huge reason why it blew up. It was pure, unfiltered comedy meeting hip-hop. And while I'm talking it up, I gotta be real, looking back, some of the stuff that was being said around this time was just like really wild, man. Which I guess is the name of the show, but like, I don't know.
Little Indian girl, I'm not gonna diss, don't you worry. I think they have sign-ups for America's Next Top Curry. Yes, I'm Indian, it's true, but are you black? I got more ass than you.
By a show of hands, who has been all up in Nick's girlfriend?
After season 4 though, the show would be hit with a hiatus. Nick wanted to focus on his marriage with Mariah and their family, while also doing other projects. On top of that, production costs for the show had skyrocketed, with them needing an A-list celebrity almost every episode, as well as slowly needing a larger crew for filming and more security for the audience, leading him to just want to take a break for a bit. Because of this, the show went dark for 6 years, and during those years, fans would not stop hounding MTV and Nick Cannon to bring it back. However, unlike most MTV shows, Nick Cannon was actually keeping up with the times and knew that when MTV reached out to him to bring Wild 'N Out back, it had to be different. Not only different in the sense of production, but also to symbolize that it's a new era. And he wasn't dumb. While some of the old cast would return, it would be a majority new cast. Most of those who weren't traditionally popular actors or rappers, but were popular content creators going viral online. And eventually, we would get the triumphant return of Wild 'N Out with season 5 on July 9th, 2013. And if I'm just being honest right out the gate, this is my era of Wild 'N Out. Like, I was literally 12 years old when this season premiered, so it was just a huge part of my childhood growing up. It did, however, move from MTV to MTV2 as the network was trying to promote that channel more during this time, and it worked, as the season 5 premiere pulled MTV2's highest ratings ever, with 1.1 million people tuning in for the return. And there would immediately be some noticeable differences, as for this season there was no more Red Squad. Nick changed it to the Platinum Squad for this new era, and it's something you'll see the show tend to do as time goes on, similar to the little points bar I was talking about earlier. On top of this though, Nick knew the cast had to be really good to make sure OG fans of the show wouldn't be disappointed. And man, did he select a good cast. The most notable names that were added in season 5 were Carlos Miller, who is my personal favorite cast member, Chico Bean, Emmanuel Hudson, Conceited, and Timothy De La Ghetto. Some OG members that stayed were Mikey Day, Rasika Matur, Spanky Hayes, Corey Holcomb, and D-Ray Davis. This season would debut some new iconic games too, most notably Hood Jeopardy, but also Flow Job and Who's on the Pole. And man, did it have some iconic guests like Mac Miller, 2 Chainz, A$AP Rocky, Chanel West Coast, and even bringing back Kevin Hart for 2 episodes. One of which is probably one of my favorite moments in the show's history, where Nick Cannon pulls out a car seat on Kevin Hart during the Wild style and makes him sit in it. And it's just like, so good, dude.
Platinum Squad
This is also the season that started the running jokes about Nick and Mariah's relationship, as well as his beef with Eminem because of it.
I'm killing him in here. That feminine, he's scared, he's horrified of vending machines because he heard Eminem's in there.
It's also when the iconic Carlos and Chico duo premiered that would eventually grow to a trio later on. Season 5 proved that even after 6 years of silence, the show could still hold its own and still bring in the big bucks. And because the show was using a lot of social media creators now, they started slowly building their own social media presence, doing normal TV show things like posting clips from the show to promote it and hoping that it goes viral. But as time would go on, their social media presence would absolutely explode, leading it to be a way a lot of Gen Z and the now Gen Alpha find the show. I mean, as of now, their YouTube is sitting at over 15 million subscribers and posts videos almost every day, and even has custom content. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to the early 2010s. Season 6 premiered July 2nd, 2014, and was pretty much the same as Season 5. It did, though, bring on Hitman Holla, who is another Wild 'N Out alum, as well as having King Bach, who wasn't on the show long, but for some reason that just lives in my head rent-free. Like, remember when King Bach was trying to be an actor? That's a video right there. It's also notable for being the season airing during the midst of Nick and Mariah's divorce, which of course led to more jokes at Nick's expense. Especially since one of the main rumors during this time was that Nick was sleeping with a Wild 'N Out girl, possibly even getting her pregnant. Pretty messy, but makes for great content, I guess.
There comes a time in a man's life where he just gotta tell the truth. Nick, you know I never wanted you to go through no divorce, but damn it, it happened. But look, now that it is what it is, don't it feel good to not have to lie about smashing the Wild 'N Out girl?
Season 7 premiered June 10th, 2015, and again was exactly the same as the 2 seasons prior. Between Season 6 and 7, we had a lot more popular guests like Ray Shermerd, Zendaya, Ty Dolla $ign, Pete Wentz, Nelly, and even Chrissy Teigen, who had one of the craziest wild styles with Carlos Miller, by the way. However, we can't forget to mention that in Season 7, we would also get another Wild 'N Out alum who would arguably grow even bigger than the brand and become a part of Carlos and Chico's team, that being DC Young Fly, who you probably know best as the guy who laughs like this. Season 8 premiered August 18th, 2016, and actually moved back to MTV's main station and even expanded to VH1. This season also gave us one of the most popular Wild 'N Out alums, Justina Valentine, who at this point is undoubtedly a core piece of the show. And while not as big as Justina or DC, we did also get other fan favorites like Darren Brand and Michael Blackson in Season 8. And if it hasn't become abundantly clear at this point, it's pretty much the same show over and over again, which is why I'm not exactly deep diving into a lot of the episodes. I mean, even at this point, it's the same concept from the start of the video. Just 2 squads playing different games for fun every week. And while the guests change out, honestly, most of the time they're barely a part of the show anymore, mainly participating in only the wild style and just sitting looking cool on the side the rest of the show. In Season 8 though, we did get a new squad color again, with it now being the gold versus the platinum squad. This season had a lot of repeats when it came to guests, but it did give us some new ones like Bella Thorne, Travis Scott, and the Migos.
Little Asian, you walking with your head swole, went in the beauty salon and asked for the egg roll. Hold on, and he think that I'm playing. Chinese dude, translate what I'm saying.
Season 9 dropped in June of 2017, and for this one, Nick went back to the OG Red vs. Black squad. We also got B. Simone added to the cast, who is also a huge face of the brand nowadays. And as for guests, we saw people like Black China, Lil Yachty, Chance the Rapper, Young M.A., and Wendy Williams. Chance the Rapper would actually be on Wild 'N Out a lot of times, but the Season 9 episode is probably the one that most people are familiar with, as many clips from it went pretty viral in the hip-hop community, including the moment they make DJ D-Rec try a game for once, which is pretty funny. Speaking of D-Rec, let's go over some classic games that came out during these years that I may have skipped over, like the fan favorite Pick Up and Kill It, which was popularized by that Chance the Rapper episode, as he did slay that shit, I can't lie.
Gorilla, I'm from Chi-Town. When I do my I never write down. I'm on the top and I'm wearing my crown. This is New York and I think it's my
and one of my personal favorites, Family Reunion, as well as Wild Sauce, Boot Up, and Vowing Out. By this point, the show had really found its groove and continued to just steamroll forward, with them even going on the first Wild and Out tour in 2018, and dropping their own merch. The main cast pretty much stayed the same from here, and even though they'd get a bunch of new people each season, there wouldn't really be anyone else to become a mainstay. And I know Wild and Out at this point is really just focused on building themselves as a brand, especially on social media, but I just have to point out, how the hell did Rice Gum get cast for season 13? I don't get that one, Nick. Again, a lot of guests were repeats, but there were some iconic newcomers too, like Blockboy JB, Blueface, P&B Rock, Dwight Howard, and even Sasha Banks. Hey, chill out there. Season 14 premiered January 7th, 2020, and at this point, it seemed like nothing could go wrong. It was even starting to do a better part to showcase the LGBTQ community, with fan favorite cast member Santuan McRae joining the show this season, with more to come as it went on. Which is pretty cool, because even today, hip-hop is known for being pretty homophobic, let's be real. So shout out them for putting on this community. This season also has another one of my all-time favorite clips when Emmanuel Hudson goes off on Spoken Reasons in the Wild style during the finale. They had a real-life YouTube beef going on for years, and Emmanuel took the chance to set it straight, leading to an iconic moment.
So tell the people, right now, before I get mad and start to rise, you got a chance to clear your name. Right now, apologize.
Another cool thing they were doing though, is around this time, Nick would let cast members who were actually trying to be artists perform as the musical guests, like Hitman Holla, Justina Valentine, and even DC Young Fly later on. They even opened a Wild and Out themed sports bar and arcade in Miami and San Diego between 2018 and 2020, both of which closed in 2023 though. But I mean, Wild and Out was Nick Cannon's magnum opus. God, I hate saying that word, but you know what I mean. It was his baby. However, shit kinda hit the fan later that year, leading to a major shift in Wild and Out's future. Things got messy around 2020. As some of you probably know, during an episode of Nick Cannon's podcast, Cannon's Class, he went on a bit of an anti-Semitic rant, calling white people savages, talking about typical Jewish conspiracies, like how they run everything, and pretty much the usual for this kind of thing. And of course, this sparked major backlash. So much so, in fact, that it led to Viacom CBS firing him mid-season 15 production. And remember how I talked way earlier about how Nick maintained a lot of the rights to Wild and Out because MTV wanted to keep its distance just in case something ever happened? Yeah, well, they dropped the show pretty much immediately, meaning it wasn't even on hiatus, it was cancelled. Nick eventually apologized and even educated himself by talking with Jewish leaders and donating to Jewish-based charities and causes. However, it wasn't the end for him, as Fox, obviously, kept him as the host for The Masked Singer during all of this, which is one of the biggest reality TV shows in America these days, and definitely hits a larger demographic than Wild and Out, which in turn led to most people forgetting pretty quickly, as he kept just doing his thing. And when it came to Wild and Out, he was not quiet. He was on podcasts, talk shows, radio shows, talking about how he was done dirty, that Wild and Out was his show, and he deserved to be able to try to make it again, whether MTV wanted it or not. It honestly got so big that a lot of fans were actually going after Viacom for taking Nick's show away from him. And somehow, this worked, as by 2021, he would get rehired by the network and immediately got to work on finishing season 15 of Wild and Out.
Hey, ain't she built like one of the strippers in Grand Theft Auto?
Which eventually re-premiered April 6, 2021, exclusively on VH1, with the episode before it having aired July 8, 2020. Pretty wild. But Nick's controversy wasn't the only thing that would hurt the show, as when it did come back, it was during the prime of COVID, making filming that much harder, and also meaning there was little to no audience most episodes, which just look weird. On top of all of that, season 16, which premiered August 10, 2021, went with holographic guests, which were just the guests on this Matrix-ass looking TV, and the squad names were switched to Revolution versus Evolution. Real talk, it was a rough patch, but the comeback showed resilience. I also want to mention another little drama with the show I found while researching, and don't really know where else to fit it in, but longtime cast member Spanky Hayes has come out in recent years claiming that he's actually responsible for the Wild 'N Out idea and concept. His claim is that he and Will Smith had a show that was basically Wild 'N Out that no one picked up, and through one way or another, Nick Cannon got a hold of the concept and just copied it. When Spanky spoke out about it, it would cause Nick Cannon to put him in a loop of being fired and rehired. But also, like, if that was true, why did he agree to stay on the show? Especially for so long. I mean, you're saying that's really your only chance in the entertainment industry was Wild 'N Out? Also, jokes about having beef with Nick due to being fired or not being paid have been an ongoing thing for a while, so I mean, how bad can it be? Season 17 aired February 2nd, 2022, and was finally back to a normal set. First full live audience since pre-COVID, and first season filmed in New Jersey. Although some guests would still be on TVs due to specific COVID requirements and blah blah blah. I mean, we all remember that. Squads changed to the old school versus the new school, with Nick hosting the old school with other Wild 'N Out vets, and obviously the younger ones and the guests running the new school. The squad colors kinda changed to whatever they wanted to for this season, with them all wearing black as the undercolor and then whatever color they kinda want to accent it. It's also one of the only 2 seasons with no new cast members being added, the other one being season 15. But this was the era to popularize the Battle of the Sexes episodes that Wild 'N Out have become known for in recent years. Speaking of, around this time, they also started a podcast called Women of Wild 'N Out, which aimed to give more of a voice and persona outside the typical hip-hop realm, which is usually pretty objective. Guests mix hip-hop legends with fresh faces. People like Fat Joe, Kid and Play, Sleepy Hollow, and Fivio Foreign all came on, truly showing the balance between old and new.
Bobby, I can't find you. You lost in the crowd. I would take you to dinner, but they said no pets allowed.
Okay, wait, hold on. It's about to get tragic. I would eat that, but my mama said stop chewing plastic.
All right, wait, Bobby.
Oh,
okay. Some hurt is hard to heal. Like when your mama found out you was a bitch at the gender reveal.
Season 18 premiered June 2022 and was filmed in Covington, Georgia. Same old school, new school split, except this time the old school squad was in black and pink attire, with the new school being in black and gold. We also got some new games for the first time in a while, like Alphabet Train, Hip Hop Auction, On the Bus Stop, and On the Gang. Guests range from Bobby Shmurda and Coco Jones to Yul Santana and Tyron Woodley. And also, finally got rid of the damn weird TV guests. And I gotta mention that this was the same season Kosha Dills was added to the cast. Which, I mean, again, is cool that they're putting on a community that typically gets hated on in hip-hop culture, but it also comes after Nick's controversy, so I mean, do with that what you will. But we also got Emmanuel's little brother Philip on the cast, which gave for some pretty good moments. Season 19 premiered April 6, 2023, and honestly was pretty uneventful. It gave us new games like Bless Them and What You Call That, but no new significant cast members. It also had a lot of repeat guests like Nelly, Chance the Rapper, and Glorilla, but also had some Wild 'N Out firsts like Kai Cenat, Michael Rappaport, and Antonio Brown, which I mean, that one was definitely a choice, Nick. For season 20, Nick went back to the classic Red vs. Black squads and did a lot of things to honor the OG era. He brought on guests like Cat Williams, Kevin Hart, Exhibit, Too Short, and Will Duvall. This season also gave us a new theme song, for the first time since the show's initial revival, and was the first season where Nick wasn't actually in every episode, letting just popular veteran cast members host teams, which just proves how large the show had grown on its own as a brand. Season 20 was also notable for the dramatic B. Simone and Danny Lay drama going on at the time, which led to B. Simone not appearing in her episode. And on a more sad note, they planned to have Coolio as a guest this season, but he passed before it could happen. And finally we get to today with Wild 'N Out Season 21, also called Wild 'N Out 21 Up, which premiered on July 9th, 2024. There's not too much different about this season, however it did bring back the old versus new school setup and gave us new games like Hip Hop Potluck and Roast Roulette. Guests range from NLE Choppa and Trick Daddy to Saucy Santana and 702. Sadly though, DC Young Fly would have a noticeable absence from this show this season, as his partner Jackie O passed away during production.
Also defined as a complete fantasy. Nick Cannon going platinum.
That's all right, Nick. Joe Budden going platinum.
Me visiting the baby I made last year in New York.
Looking back, it's clear to see that Wild 'N Out isn't just a show. It's a cultural legacy. Starting as a small MTV show with small names like Kevin Hart and Cat Williams, before turning into a platform to give rising artists and content creators a chance to shine. It's one of the longest running improv comedy shows ever, and manages to succeed in today's world without really needing to change much. It's raw and unfiltered, yet progressive and diverse, and somehow manages to thrive in a world full of cancel culture. Even when Nick Cannon was canceled, it only stopped the power for about a year, proving it can not only survive hiatuses, network jumps, and controversy, but come back even stronger. Nick built an empire that birthed tours, merch, and restaurants, perfectly bending two of his passions, while being able to capitalize on not only hip-hop culture, but also nostalgia at this point. There really is nothing else like Wild 'N Out, and probably never will be. What's your favorite Air or Wild style moment? Make sure to put it in the comments below. And if this got you hyped, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you thought it was good. Or I guess give me the buzzer if you thought it was whack. And remember, anything can be special, it's just how you look at it. Peace, y'all.
Smoke that shit.